Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. I hope you're doing well out there. If you guys could subscribe, that'd be great. Appreciate you stopping by. Hey, tomorrow we'll be broadcasting live from the Casella Center on 560 WQAM. Myself, Alejandro Solana, Tommy Tig, have some fun Heat guests as we have draft night, ladies and gentlemen. Your Miami Heat selecting 20th overall in this year's NBA draft, and a lot of buzz today surrounding that number 20 pick, and a lot of it surrounding going towards Florida Gators superstar Walter Clayton Jr., 4-year player, a little bit older, 22 years old, and there's not only a ton of buzz around him from the mock drafts that were out there, like the latest. I don't know if you guys saw like a lot of the latest rounds of mock drafts and whatnot. I think 3 of the big outlets today had Clayton going to the Miami Heat. There was apparently a report from CBS that said that he had multiple workouts with Miami, that he canceled other workouts in the back end, and so today these were the mocks that came out. They had him going. CBS had him going. ESPN had him going, and man, I want to say Yahoo did as well. I lost that here, but I think one other had Walter Clayton Jr. going to Miami. Then there was a story from CBS, like I said, talking about the idea that he had canceled some workouts. There was this funny clip that I saw today tweeted out. I guess this was from the pre-Final Four, and he had said, if you could have dinner with 3 people alive or dead, who would you go out with? And he goes, Eric Spoelstra, Rick Ross, and Kobe. And I was like, whoa, all right, talk about setting yourself up for an interview, right? Like it almost has remnants of like Jaime Jaquez Jr. saying his favorite player in the draft at the time was Jimmy Butler. But if he did have multiple workouts, it has been, a little bit quieter on the intel as far as the Heat is concerned. In fact, even ESPN said that today. They were saying, and they mocked Clayton. They said Clayton has showcased dynamic shot making and workouts, worked his way up the boards in the first round, shaped into somewhat of a light point guard options. He has fans in the front offices selecting higher than this. He appears to be positioned well to land inside the top 20. His explosiveness, ability to create his own shot, or strong calling cards should give him a pathway, be a useful bench scorer at worst. Miami is perennially among the hardest teams for rival organizations as well as player agents to get a read on, with a tight-lipped approach on how it conducts its pre-draft process. Considering the Heat need a proper point guard, the way Clayton seems to fit their mold and makes sense on paper. So that was from Jeremy Woo from ESPN. But yeah, man, I mean, listen, averaged over 18 points last year, is a lights out shooter, 40% on just under 8 attempts last year, 39% from 3 for his collegiate career. Played a couple of seasons for Rick Pitino at Iona, so I think there's like that, that almost that Riles mold there. Obviously, a guy his size doesn't connote like he's going to have like the best time defensively, though he was pretty good at snatching the basketball and making some of those reads. So there's that. And he'll turn 23 before the end of last season. Some of the comps that like the other mocks are putting up there, you got Ben Gordon, Jordan Clarkson from some outlets. Some are calling him Jamal Murray, CJ McCollum. All prudent, high-powered offensive guys. Miami obviously does need some more offensive punch. I get everybody. I see some concerns out there, people calling him Shabazz Napier 2.0. While I understand that, I understand the comp that, first of all, Shabazz Napier was, one of the tiniest players I've ever seen. They have Clayton at like 6'2" on a good day. Shabazz, I think they listed at 6'1". I remember the first media day I saw Shabazz Napier, it was remnant. Like the guy was closer to Brad Marchand than he was Dwayne Wade as far as height was concerned. And He also doesn't have, he's got those. He's got some short wingspan. I think it was third shortest in the draft. So yeah, you're not getting that. But I mean, this is a guy that obviously can light it up from downtown, which is a very valuable skill set in the draft. So would I hate it? No. I mean, like, look, when you're sitting at 20, I think a lot of Heat fans get a little bit crazy with this. Like, you're sitting at this position where it's not really in your control, and so if something does find its way to you, then I think you should like this guy being most outstanding player in the Final Four. There is a little bit of an it factor to that, like a little bit of a swagger that comes with that, and so will be interesting to see, but. Certainly noticeable that a lot of stuff was going around. The other one that has been surfaced around has been Jason Richardson, son of Jason Richardson from Michigan State. I thought initially, I was like, well, he's Michigan State. Like, this felt like a pick that the Miami Heat would be like making for Phoenix if they were in the Kevin Durant. But today he was mocked by, I think it was Yahoo, mocked him to come to Miami. And, that's another one where it's like, hey, not like the biggest guard in the world, has some real shiftiness like around the basket, not explosive like his dad was, not as big as his dad was, but and also I don't think he's received a draft room invite, at least as far as last week was concerned. But crafty, Dade played at Columbus, so had some time down here. And that would also be like another interesting candidate, and much younger than Walter Clayton. I don't know who's going to end up being the better player, but he's going to be 20 essentially before the season starts, and then they'll rock into that. So those are some interesting guard names that are around the Miami Heat and people snooping around. There was another interesting nugget that was pointed out today. And this was in Tim Kawakami, his article, talking about some of the moves that the Golden State Warriors could make and some lower end maneuvers that maybe haven't been highlighted because there's not a lot of big game hunting. But it is from my standpoint was an interesting blurb just because I haven't heard a lot about fans of this guy in organizations, and I do think you forget, like, while we're doing some reaction videos to the Heat being interested in Devin Carter, and that would be just being a year removed, we're 2 years removed from Jaime Jaquez's draft. And so Kawakami pointed out that Jaime Jaquez Jr. has some fans in the Warriors organization, and it does kind of make sense because he was essentially picked one slot before Brandon Pajemski. So maybe there was some thought that Jaquez was going to drop to them in that very interesting part of the draft with Whitmore, Jaquez, and Pajemski. And obviously Pajemski kind of kept up his trajectory of where he was. Jaquez, it certainly took a step back this year after a very strong rookie season, especially the first half of it. And some good showings in the playoff series against Boston. But, Tim points this out in the article, and I think it's probably right, is that it would be surprising to see Miami sell so low on Jaime Jaquez. Now, to be fair, and you wonder how Jaime does register this, because Jaime's doing a lot of mental work this year. He's doing a mental coach, a lot of trying to find that confidence, I think, that he played with and that swagger that he played with in his rookie year. You do wonder, because it does affect some guys, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. How does knowing that you were in the Kevin Durant stuff, how does that affect Jaime Jaquez? Knowing that even with this Kings buzz, that there's a little bit of, would Jaime Jaquez get a fresher start out on the West Coast? So it is going to be interesting to see how Jaime registers all that, because look, Tim is right in that, like, if you're Miami, I don't think that you want to sell low on Jaime. And also, it's a little bit of a weird fit with the Warriors, right? Because, like, what are the assets that they're going to give up? Are they going to give up Quentin Post? Well, I doubt it. He's basically the only center they have on the roster outside of Looney. So I doubt that they're going to make a part there. Are they going to, and then, so would that be in a sign and trade with Kuminga? I guess there's an element to that. I mean, we saw that with the Heat doing that with Kyle Lowry and Precious Achiuwa, and they threw Precious as kind of the sweetener with Goran Dragic to make the salary work. So could that be where the Heat go if they are truly interested in Kuminga, even though there's been a little bit of cold water thrown at it from some of the local reports from Anthony Chang, Barry Jackson? If the Miami Heat want to make that maneuver and let's say they're throwing back Andrew Wiggins, is that good enough? Are the Warriors happy with that, or would they want something like Haime? But I feel like we know how much that they like Andrew Wiggins as it is. And he's going to be another one that's interesting as an aside. Like Wiggins now knowing also that hey, you were part of the deal to get out of it. Now, Wiggins is more of a veteran. I don't think it will bother him as much, especially because how could it bother you as much as the Warriors dumping you for Jimmy Butler, right? You were like, oh, I thought I was a champion. I thought we were cool. I thought it was part of the franchise. I loved it here. And then I'm ended up in Miami where, I'm 3,000 miles away from my new baby and my family and all that type of stuff. So he'll probably take it in better stride. I'm sure that he knows this is a guy that has been traded multiple times before. Hell, this guy was the number one pick. And, wasn't he in LeBron's fake letter and then ended up as a Timberwolf? So who's to say? I did see, though, speaking of that trade, I did see that Kevin Love and LeBron working out in New York at Chris Brigley's gym. So, maybe Love is recruiting LeBron to the Heat. Maybe that's the aging star that Pat was talking about. One last swan song with LeBron James. That's what Kevin Love is up to. He'll make some Instagram posts about it, like wink, just out there recruiting, trying to get it done. Or maybe LeBron's trying to pry Kevin Love and add some more size out there. Who knows? But certainly interesting to see that the Heat were, that the Heat and this Jaquez thing. Now, for me, would I do that? Nah, I think from my standpoint, I would be interested in more of a young prospect that they don't have to pay right away. The Carter thing definitely is interesting to me. I wouldn't be as opposed to that. Having to give up Haime to then pay somebody $20 to $25 million a year. That one I kind of bristle at a little bit. I'm not completely against the Kuminga thing, but I'm not sitting here getting ready to map out parade routes or anything like that. So ultimately, Miami does need to get a Jaime Jaquez that can be more productive. And will be interesting to see if Wiggins is on the team. That probably takes away some of his playing time. If Wiggins is gone, man, I guess you could even talk into the possibility of Haime starting next to Tyler, Bam, Kalel, and Davion. So that's also going to be an interesting ramification of those two guys who are in the KD talks. Will they end up being back with Miami? But first things first, and that is going to be the draft tomorrow night. And so hope you guys can tune in on the Odyssey app. I'm not sure if we're streaming or not. You guys will know. It'll be on social media if that's the case. But appreciate you, and we'll talk to you next time.